Take a breath. Feel your heart. Go with the flow. Today is Theoretical Thursday, and I would like to talk to you about the process of becoming who you are as a divine and sovereign being. That is what we came here for, and you've never been this you before. You've never been able to be this you before. Some people talk about it as remembering who you are, but it's actually becoming who you are because you've never been here in this very same circumstance with the very same life circumstances that you've had. And so it is a process, and we're moving out of contrast. We're being birthed right now out of the contrast that we see out there in the world. We are remembering that that is not us, and we are birthing who we are. And I am doing this, so I'm a little bit probably ahead of a lot of people, so I'm going to share what the process is like. And during my walk with my dog today, I was inspired to do it in this way, to actually demonstrate co-creation with you. I was talking to my boyfriend this morning about how there was just so much to do, and I used to look at that as like overwhelming and a burden, but I'm not feeling that way anymore. I'm just feeling empowered by how much there is to do. And how I get to do it with him, and how we get to live this life together and do it together and decide what is important to us and what we want to create in the world. So I'm excited right now. The way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to use cards to kind of demonstrate the flow. So what comes from me and what comes from the cards. The cards will represent spirit or life. Okay, so I want to share, I'm setting the intention of sharing with you the process of becoming and becoming who you are as a divine and sovereign being, and expressing that here, becoming who you are and expressing that, because that's what we were meant to do here. Okay. So my intention is that, and to demonstrate that through the cards. So we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to pull a card, and that will be what the universe is giving me. I put out my intention, and let's see what the universe gives me. I want to pull from, I'm drawn to these, so you pay attention to that too. What are you drawn towards? To turn some of my cards over the right way. Some of them are facing, oh, okay, they're all. Okay. These are the Divine Beloved cards. And on the back of the box it says, change me, Divine Beloved, into one who can allow love to lead my life. And that's also how we do this co-creation. We allow love to lead. We don't allow our spirit to. So it's not allowing, it's normally, or the way that we've done things in the past is to let our ego lead. Our ego tells us what to do. Our mind and our ego tell us what to do. And we do it. We were slaves to that. But no more. We're not going to be slaves to that anymore. We're doing this different now. We're going to let love lead. And we're going to learn to flow and co-create with love, or spirit, or God, or your higher self, whatever you want, however you think of it, or feel it, or experience it. Okay, so this is what love is giving me. Love is giving me fear. I release all fear. I invite you, Divine Beloved, to move through me in all ways, guiding my actions in every moment. Let me release all fear and feel unbridled openness to the new. Okay, So what that brings up in me is this morning, I went over and hugged my boyfriend. He was sitting in a chair, and so I couldn't really get to him that well, and I just kneeled down and I hugged him. And then I noticed within me this feeling of, he's gonna push me away. He doesn't want to hug me anymore. I can't just be in this hug and this embrace. He's gonna push me away. I have to prepare myself. That was the voice that was going on in my head. And then I was like, no, that's so sad. I started to cry. I'm like, that was my experience from even being young, like being very little to having that experience. No, people were trying to push me away. They couldn't just hold me. And as a baby, I had colic, so I think that was my experience. Like, my mom had a really hard time because she didn't know how to soothe me. And so it was my earliest experience of feeling like I couldn't be held and loved. And so I didn't know all that when I was hugging my boyfriend. I just cried because I just was responding to that experience of how sad for my being to have experienced that. And also how safe and loved and held I felt right then, and knowing that he wasn't going to push me away, that he enjoyed holding me. He rested his chin on my head and just held me. And then he felt me crying, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm crying." And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And he just held me. And then later I told him what was happening. I asked him if he wanted to know. He didn't really need to know. He probably knows somewhere in him. But he did. He said, "Yeah, if you want to share it with me." And I shared with him. And it was just this awareness of all these fears that I had, or this one particular fear that I had, and how I didn't need to be afraid of that anymore. But I could hold it and love it and let it go. So I don't know if that probably demonstrated a little bit. So I'm gonna pull another card. And I'm gonna talk about the process. So I set my intention. My intention is to share the process of co-creation with you and the process of becoming and expressing who you are. Spirit gave me the card Fear. What came up for me is that experience I had with my boyfriend, and I shared that with you. I expressed that to you. Okay, now I go in. If there's something that comes up for me, I will share it. If not, I will, if there's something that I want to share, if there's something that I don't want to share, I just want to kind of hold for myself and think about it later, or be with it later, or even be with it now, I will do that. If not, I will be drawn to another card, and then we're going to repeat the process. So I'm just experimenting and seeing what happens here. This is what I was called to do, but I don't know actually what's going to happen. And that is true. That's part of co-creation. You don't know what's going to happen. I'm pulling from the messages from the guides. So we can only set an intention and then respond to what is. So the part that I was telling you about this morning, where I was feeling like there was just so much to be done, I used to feel that as a burden. And now I'm beginning to realize that it's not something that I could change. So if it's not something that I can change, then I want to move towards acceptance of it. And I feel like I have moved into that. That, okay, just accepting that there is a lot to do all the time as human beings. We need to clean ourselves and our bodies and clean our house and do something that gives us gives us like income, usually. Right now I'm practicing being, just being. Because of what I'm learning and what Spirit is guiding me towards is just being and not having to perform or do to be loved. And Spirit has guided me to just be and is showing me how I can just be. And that's what I'm teaching you, co-creating, being. Just being and co-creating with life. Okay. Thoughts create your reality. This is what we got. Oh my God, isn't this beautiful? Don't you just love it? It's talking to me. Spirit, live your bliss. I could really just cry right now, because can you feel how Spirit is working with me? And Spirit works with you. And this still surprises me. It still surprises me. Okay, thoughts create your reality. So you noticed this morning when I was telling you I was hugging my boyfriend and those thoughts came to me, right? But I didn't believe them. I recognized them as thoughts that I had adopted through my experiences. I had adopted those thoughts through my experiences, and they were no longer true for me. So I could observe them, recognize that they were no longer true for me, and let them go and be in the embrace of my boyfriend and be loved and held. Okay, thoughts create your reality. So then my new thought became, I am lovable. Everything that you see in this physical dimension is a replica of what has first been created in thought. There is nothing that you can look at right now that didn't first have its genesis as the energy of thought. Since we have the ability to create reality from thought, that means that you too have the power to construct your own personal existence, your truth. And with that power comes responsibility. Be mindful of your thoughts. If you focus on what you don't have, be it money or health or love, then the energy of lack is what you will create. Your guides are ready and willing to inspire you and help you see that your desires come to fruition. All you have to do is ask for their assistance. I think I forgot that part. So when you set an intention, and I don't know that there's necessarily an order to this, but when you set an intention, you can be grateful that you're going to be answered and ask for an answer. So ask Spirit for guidance, ask your higher self for guidance, for support if that's what you need, and be grateful that you are able to come to that clarity of what you need and to ask for it, and that you know that you have faith and trust to be able to ask for it and know that it's going to be answered. Your guides are ready and willing to inspire you and help you see that your desires come to fruition. All you have to do is ask for their assistance. In fact, the summation of all your previous thoughts and intentions are what you are experiencing right now when you read this card message. Look around yourself right now. Your environment has been created by your choices, whether consciously or subconsciously. Start making conscious choices and you'll be amazed at what you create for yourself. Okay, live your bliss. The emotion of happiness is like a beacon calling you to follow its light. When you hold this card in your hand, think of saying, if it feels good, do it. The physical reactions that you have when you do something that makes you happy are like signposts from your guides pointing you in the right direction. Whether you are consciously aware of it or not, there are unique lessons to be learned by following your bliss. Think of the sensations of fulfillment and satisfaction as pearls that are strewn before your soul's journey. They lead you in the right direction. Conversely, if something makes you fatigued or bored, that's the contrast, that is also a sign that you have ventured onto a path that won't ultimately fulfill your soul's blueprint. That's what was happening to me in my job and in my marriage that I had to end. On earth, you will be compelled to various interests or desires. This is because you are coming closer to your soul's nature. Following your dreams is also about letting yourself express your joy. In doing so, you are in alignment with your personal truth. I talk a lot about your truth, your personal truth, because it's different from everybody else's. Your truth is an expression of who you are, and it comes from your life experiences and who you were before you came here, your spirit. And what is in your environment currently. If this card appears often in your spread, it may be time to examine your priorities. Many lessons that you have incarnated to learn deal with knowing yourself well enough to take chances, to follow through on what your soul is telling you, even though it may not seem rational or make sense. Okay, so my truth wouldn't make sense to a lot of people, but what I am learning is I'm learning embodiment right now. I'm learning to express my spirit through this body, through this human. And I'm learning devotion. So devotional practices as a way of embodiment. I'm learning what's important to me. And things that I didn't really think that were important, because I think maybe I got messages that they shouldn't be important. But beauty is important to me. A beautiful environment, making my body beautiful, making my face beautiful, beautiful things, flowers, water, nature. My dog, I think, is beautiful. I love my beautiful dog. So I'm learning what is important to me. Time, space, energy. People are important to me. Having one-on-one time with people so I can really be present with them and let their soul speak to me and let my soul speak to them. That's what is important to me. So I've been practicing these, I've been kind of like letting come to me these practices that are meaningful. So first, and just putting them into practice and letting them take shape in my life. It takes time to create these new habits, new positive habits, if you want to call it that. So I have been pretty good about making walking my dog be one of the first things that I do. No, first I have coffee with my boyfriend in the morning. And then when he leaves for work, I walk my dog. I have these nice walks with my dog. And sometimes I listen to a tarot card reading by Dove and Serpent Tarot, because I really like him, or Illuminated Tarot. She's like my second favorite tarot reader. And sometimes I just walk in quiet and silence with my dog. And sometimes I do a little bit of both. This morning I was writing poetry on my walk, and I never really would have considered myself a poet. My sister is a poet. But every now and then poetry comes to me, and probably more now that I'm more living in my spirit. So I probably will share my poetry on different formats. And so that was happening. And then what I now was called to incorporate, and I started to take a yoga class, and that was once a week. But now I am a yoga teacher. I've been a yoga teacher, and as a yoga teacher, I was taught that you should have your own practice before you start teaching other people. And I did my little teaching internship, or whatever you want to call it, and then I kind of incorporated it into my practice as a therapist, and started to do a little bit with couples and yoga, which I would like to do more of. And but I never really had my own practice, because I would have these voices in my head that would be like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, and you should, oh, that's not good enough, this is too much time, I don't want to do it. Like, I had all these voices going on, which is what happens in yoga. Yoga is union with spirit, or union with God. That's what it means. And I do think of that infinity symbol when I think of it. And I think of that when I think of co-creating too. It is essentially that feedback loop that we get. Like, we set an intention, we let it out there, it comes back to us in some sort of form, and then we let it settle within us, allow something to come up, respond back to God or the universe, put something else out there, or respond back, see what we get. And it is this feedback loop. So if you have a negative feedback loop with life, or a cycle that you want to break with life, the first step is really observing it, observing this feedback loop that you've been creating. And then you can start to change it. Okay, so mine was, I wanted to incorporate more strength training into my life, because I want to get stronger. I want to get, I need to release some fat. I've actually struggled with, I had a diabetic sugar. I was able to get it down. You need 3 diabetic sugars. You have to have 3 diabetic sugars in order to get a diagnosis of diabetes. I don't want a diagnosis of diabetes. So I've been working really hard at getting that back, like, getting my body, working hard on keeping my body in health. And part of that I feel I needed was strength training. And I wrestled with that, because I'm in my 50s, and in your 50s, you start to go through menopause or perimenopause. And high intensity exercise is not good for you. This is something I discovered on my own, and then I found research out there that supported it. That you need lower intensity exercise, less stress and anxiety, and probably more strength training, more walking. I'm now listening to different things, like Pilates, Tai Chi, walking. I'm hearing this stuff. And I also just listened to my inner guidance. So I went back to yoga, and that was once a week. And now this morning I've been called to do this, but now I'm starting to take action. I wanted to incorporate meditation into my daily ritual, and I wanted to incorporate yoga. And I'm finding a place in my schedule to be able to do that. So now I'm adding this other piece. Now that I have, like, the time having coffee with my boyfriend in the morning, and then I have the nice walk with my dog, I want to incorporate, between the walk with my dog and the time with my boyfriend, I want to incorporate yoga and meditation. So I did that this morning. So I had coffee with my boyfriend, and then he left for work. And then I lied down on my yoga mat, and I picked out a meditation, and I listened to the meditation. It was a Reiki and clearing your environment meditation. I forget the name of the person who did it, but I do, I forget what the name of the app is now too. Maybe I'll remember later. But I have a meditation app that I use. It has all different teachers, which I really love. And so I listened to the meditation lying on my mat, and then I got up and I started my own yoga. So I found, I have this really nice channel also that does mantra and singing that I really like. So I put that on to do my yoga with. And I started my yoga practice. I set out the intention of doing sun salutations. And then I remembered my favorite yoga teacher, Michelle Hall, who I can't find anymore, but I loved her. And if you're out there, Michelle, I love you and I wish the best to you, and I'm so grateful for you being my first yoga teacher. Michelle wasn't the teacher that I thought she would be. She wasn't bendy or blonde or thin. She was powerful and black and on the shorter side and wasn't so bendy. And she showed me that I never thought I'd be a yoga teacher, but she showed me that I loved yoga and that I could be a yoga teacher. And she guided me and fostered me in doing that. So I'm really grateful for her. And so she was in my mind, and I said, I loved how Michelle she did like bending and flowing into things. So she would bend. She learned her yoga through Kripalu, and which is a place I think in Massachusetts. I've been there once, and it's all about being in the present moment. And I don't know, but anyway, I could get so off. I'm really trying to stay centered. Okay. So she would bend into something and then come back. And it was like this really nice flow, but it was also a balance of staying in the pose and flowing with the pose. It wasn't a lot of yoga that I also experienced was too much flow too fast. And I like to flow slowly and back and forth in poses. And Michelle did that with us. So I was doing that, and then I would kind of get ahead of myself and think, oh, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. Like I would set that intention of like, I want to do a little bit of warrior. But then I was in warrior, and it didn't end up being, and I'm still talking about co-creation. I'm still working with co-creation and flow. And I'll illustrate that. I'm illustrating it now, but I'll describe it after. Okay, so I'm in the yoga pose. I'm in a warrior, but it's a moon warrior. So in the moon warrior, my back foot is up. It's not down planted on the ground. The heel is up, and I'm bending back into a back bend a little bit. It's more of like a moon salutation, one of the moon salutations moves. And I'm really loving that because I'm like moon and sunning it. I'm moving between moon and sun. And moon and sun are symbolic of masculine and feminine energy. In Mexican culture, I found that. I don't know how far that goes. Maybe more other cultures have that too. But I love that because I love integrating the masculine and the feminine. And in my yoga class that I was taking, they were doing it with the half of the bodies. The left side of your body is the feminine and the right side is the masculine. But it's different for the brain. So it's the right side is the feminine and the left side is the masculine in the brain because it controls that part of the body. Anyway, just a little information. So in my yoga class, that's what they were doing. And then I found myself doing it in my own practice. So in my practice, I'm like moving back and forth between setting an intention of what I want and then just what I'm feeling in my body, going with that flow of what I'm feeling in my body. And I ended up doing that yoga moon to sun warrior pose, moving back between the moon and the sun warrior pose, and then opening up into a warrior 2. And in what I was taught in yoga is the warrior 1, your energy is all in you. You're holding it all within you, and it's moving back and forth in between you, and it's contracted. And then when you open up into yoga, the warrior 2, you're expanding and letting that out. This is also part of co-creating. I don't know if you're following me yet. Okay. And then you move, and then I was in Warrior 2, and I was moving back and forth between feeling my power and letting it out through my back arm, feeling my power, and then letting it out through my right arm. And then the masculine is doing, the feminine is the feminine is receiving. So receiving the energy and then letting it out through my masculine. Okay, and then the next pose in that sequence is, well, in one sequence of it is Warrior 3, where you take that energy and then you direct it outward and you lift up your back leg and come into a balancing pose. And I think that kind of symbolizes, when you let your energy out there into the world, the vulnerability of that, the vulnerability of expressing yourself in the world, puts you a little bit off balance. But holding that, so I was holding that balance pose of Warrior 3. I don't know if you know what that looks like, but maybe I can demonstrate that in another video. And then letting it out there, and then coming back to stability, coming back to a mountain pose where I'm just in open, and I have both of my feet planted, and my tailbone is sort of moving backward, but my buttock bones are moving down, and my spine is somewhat relaxed, not arched, but somewhat relaxed. My shoulders are drawn down and back. And I'm feeling my crown chakra open and expansive. And I'm rooted down into the earth. The mountain pose is very grounding. So coming back to that grounding place. So if we can use that actually to symbolize that process of co-creation, setting an intention, allowing our body, which holds our spirit, or our spirit actually surrounds our body, allowing our body and our spirit to direct us. So I wanted to do Warrior 1. I didn't actually intend to do Warrior 2 or Warrior 3. But my body moved me in that, and it just moved me in this flow. And now it's kind of teaching me like the process of co-creation. It is allowing spirit to move us and show us and teach us. And so one of the things that I enjoyed about that was it was a dance. I was listening to this music and this mantra, and I was singing a little bit too, and I was dancing with my yoga. And I had been getting that message to dance more, but I have never thought of myself as a poet. I've never thought of myself as a dancer. But this is all feminine energy of what wants to be more expressed in me. And I think in all of us. Because it's been so repressed and pushed down. So allowing it to express and move. And then my masculine and my thoughts would come back in, and I'd be like, okay, this has been long enough. You need to walk your dog now. And then I'd be like, my dog's out there having fun. I would talk back to that voice, and my dog's out there having fun in the yard. She's okay. She comes and she checks on me. And I need to do this for me right now. I am going to walk her. I will make that time. And now is time for me. And it's okay to take this time for me. And then I would come back into my pose and I would set an intention. I want to do 3 of these because as each time I do one, I get more into the pose. So that was my intention. And then I wanted to have like the same sort of movement in it, the same like way that I did it the first time, but each time was a little bit different, and I allowed it to be different. There ended up being more movement between the moon and the sun, which I really liked. And maybe part of that I was creating in my brain with my thoughts and my spirit kind of talking to each other. And then it was created in my body. And we are on these different planes, right? I'm like describing different planes, the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. Okay. So that being said, that it's just more and more embodiment. What's important to me? And what ended up being important to me was making some beauty appointments this week, and also cleaning my house, organizing my house, taking control over my finances, and and creating an intention of where I want them to go, and then getting more information from outside sources. How can I do this in a way that I grow my finances and I don't deplete them, like I conserve as much as I can and I grow them. So realizing what I need, asking the universe for that, reaching out and receiving that response back. And now I've been trying to make this appointment with my accountant for a couple of weeks now. And we finally have an appointment. It was canceled at one point. We finally have an appointment. I'm ready, and I believe that he's ready. And I'm going to have a way of doing what I want to do, investing my money in me and my dream. So that was something I felt very empowered by. It wasn't on my intention list. It wasn't on my to-do list. It was just something that I received a message from the universe. I acted on it, and then more came in to kind of support that flow. So I might not have the best of clarity now in talking about this, but it's something that I'm learning and something I'll keep sharing with you as I learn. And maybe other people have information they'd like to contribute to this, and I'm happy to receive that. So sometimes it helps to hear how other people describe it. Okay, so those were the things that were important to me and that I put in my schedule. Cleaning my house and my environment. Part of my yoga practice this morning was my meditation was about Reiki and cleaning and clearing my environment emotionally, physically, spiritually, and then allowing that energy to move through me so I can actually physically clean it on the vertical plane. So the mental, emotional, spirituals, I'm just guessing that's on the horizontal plane. And then the vertical is the actual physical action. I think that that Dove and Serpent Tarot talks about this too. He has the dove side, and then he has, which is the spiritual side, the spiritual mental side, and then the physical side, which is like what you actually see in your environment, and that's the serpent. I think that's what he does. Okay, just feeling this calling and this need to open and expand a little bit. Okay. So I was talking about embodiment and creating practices to embody our divinity, devotional practices. So I added my yoga and my meditation into my schedule, and I don't know if that's going to change where I put it, but I really liked the coffee with my boyfriend, meditation, yoga, and walking my dog, and then some of the more practical things, like I have an appointment with my accountant today, and maybe like working, devoting some time towards working or creating. For me, that's what I want in my environment. And you can do this too if your spirit calls you to do that. And it may be a gradual process, or it may not be a gradual process. I know that a lot of us have jobs and we need to go to our job and work our job. And some of us have more freedom. We are self-employed. And even when you're self-employed, you need to be able to make money. But if you're being called into a place of this is no longer serving you, your energy is no longer going there, it's safe to trust and listen to your spirit and take whatever step your spirit tells you to take. One of my poems this morning is about that, faith and trust. That's called Faith and Trust Are Funny. And then the other one was something about I love the wild things. So you can, if you're into poetry, you can look for those. I think that I'm going to need to wrap this up because it's been longer than I thought. Maybe I'm going to get one more card though, because I don't know who watches my long videos, but if there anyone is, but I actually don't care. You can watch a little, you can watch more later if you want. Maybe nobody watches them. Sometimes I rewatch them and I get stuff from my own videos. Maybe one day my children will watch them and learn more about me and learn more about themselves. And one day maybe everyone will be watching them. Who knows? That isn't important to me anymore. What's important to me is expressing who I am. Okay, we got these upside down, but we got the never-ending story, which is the cycle of creation, right? It's when you keep getting the same results over and over again because you keep doing the same thing. Your cycle with the world is a negative feedback loop, and that's not what you want. And here and now, being present in the moment, okay? So that's what we're changing, right? We're changing this never-ending story to being present in the moment and co-creating. We're leaving behind the never-ending story that we think that we know. The same thing happens every day, and we're tired of it. We're tired of this same story over and over again. We want to create a new story. We want to express ourselves. We want to know who we are as spirit, as love. And we want to be that in the world. And we want to see what kind of world that creates. Okay, but I am going to see what the book says about that. 37. Self-criticism, the wounded ego, unnecessary dramas. We're leaving that behind. There is a story woven through the imperfect fabric of life that tells of hurt and loss, rejection and humiliation, self-loathing and arrogance, and all manner of suffering born of unnecessary dramas. And we're tired of that, right? It is the old story whose refrain is that you cannot do this. You must not go there. Yeah, we have all these voices in our head that say we can't do this. I'm doing it. We can do this. Should not say that, lest your world come crumbling down. Today, know that none of this is actually true. The sky is not falling. The voice you hear is just a small, scared, conditioned part of you that got stuck in a lie. It wants to protect you and needs to be seen as a victim. Love that lost piece of you. Love it, like I did this morning. Fear is all it knows. We're leaving behind that fear. We can listen to it and hold it and love it and understand where it comes from. And then let it go. Distorted guidance is preventing you from being true to yourself. You are not your story. And the narrator is simply the voice of your fearful part, small and vulnerable and easily soothed. When I first left my story behind, when I decided I was getting a divorce and I moved forward in that, I didn't have a story, and it was frightening. I was like, oh my God, there's no story. What do I do? There's just emptiness, this void of like, I don't have a story to guide me. That was scary. And I turned to spirit and I started co-creating with spirit. And I don't have a story. I'm creating it in the present moment. Okay, the protection message is, this is a time to avoid drama at all costs, especially when it comes to other people's stuff. Your sensitivity is on overload these days, and you're best served by keeping your distance. Your mantra today is, not my circus, not my monkeys. All this drama will pass, and you will carry on unscathed and blameless. I'm just remembering my boyfriend gave me he sent me something on that, a reel about that. About choosing not to go to the circus. Okay, here and now. So my ex helped me to be clear. My ex taught me in the divorce, through the divorce and everything, to be really clear about what I want and who I am. And I'm learning that, to be really clear. And my boyfriend now, my new boyfriend, my love, is teaching me balance. He's a Libra. He's teaching me how to balance all of me and be all of me in balance. To be in balance with the universe and God and people and myself. Here and now, being fully present in the moment, living one day at a time. And he's also teaching me that. He has a tattoo on his back that says that. Everything happens in the now, in the present. Only this moment counts. It's true. Like, you hear that from Eckhart Tolle, and you hear that from other people out there. But to really know that is different. It's different to really know why and how you have that power in the present moment. And that is where you create. That's where you co-create. That's the only place you can co-create. Okay. You have what it takes to handle anything today if you let go of the need to look into the future or reflect on the past. The future is anxiety and the past is depression. The present moment is free of burden, free of the story. It's free. It's freedom. You're free in the present moment. And you have all of the resources within you that you've acquired on your journey, that you took with you from spirit, that flow through you through spirit. You have all of that. Be present and notice what is going on right now. This very moment has the potential for you to create miracles in your life. So I also teach A Course in Miracles, and that is also what I've learned. I've learned how to co-create through A Course in Miracles. And Neale Donald Walsch has a book that kind of, he wrote A Conversation with God. He wrote, there's 3 of them at least that I know of. But the one that I really love is the children's book, because it's all there really. The children's book speaks to your spirit, and it's easier to digest and integrate. The children's book is called The Little Soul in the Sun, and I did a video of myself reading it. If you can find that, that's a good one. Or you could get the book. It's a beautiful book. Beautiful pictures, and they speak to you, and you can feel them. Okay, so the protective message, because we got this upside down, is whenever you find your mind drifting into the past, wondering if things could have or should have been better, or whenever you find yourself longing for the good old days, you leak power. The same is true of looking too far ahead and hoping the future will provide you with certainty. Driven by ambition, you might wander too long in a place with no substance and forget that you are here today. The past and future are illusions. Whenever you leave the present moment, you're disconnecting from your inherent power to manifest your reality with true substance. Neither past nor future can give you what you need. Now is all that counts. Come back from those eternities and be here now. All will be well, and miracles will appear as if by magic in the perfect timing of spirit. Okay, so I'm going to share something with you because I was called to do this, or I felt it come in me with that card, which is part of co-creating. When I was pregnant with my daughter, she was my firstborn, I was terrified, and I didn't know. This is when I was actually going into labor. I was terrified in going into labor because if you've ever been pregnant and gone into labor, everybody has different experiences, but my experience was those contractions would squeeze me so hard and I couldn't breathe, and it scared me when I couldn't breathe. I was scared and I was in pain and I was panicking. I panicked. And when I panicked, I set off all kinds of cortisol, stress hormones in my brain. And this happened to me for a whole week. And every time I went to the doctor, nothing was happening. I wasn't dilating. Naturally, your body is supposed to dilate, so you start to birth the baby. But because of the cortisol, it was shutting off the oxytocin, which relaxes your body and opens you. The oxytocin is the love hormone that relaxes you and expands you. So a week I went, nothing was happening. I wasn't dilating. I was just experiencing a lot of stress. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was and when I finally had to go to the hospital, they had to give me, um, I took morphine to relax my body. I was so stressed out. And I was told that it wouldn't hurt my baby. I don't know. I think like what might have hurt my baby more was if I stayed stressed out like that. So I didn't have any good options. I ended up doing that, and then I birthed her. I got the epidural and everything. And I birthed her. And I tell her now, like, she might be more subjected to like drugs. She might be more at risk to drug abuse because of that. But then when I went to have my son, I was terrified. I had my son like 7 years later. When I was about to go into labor, I'm like, I can't do that again. That was horrible. I have to figure out how to be at peace with this process. And so I read this book called Mindfulness in Childbirth, and it told me about that process that I just explained to you. What naturally happens is your body produces oxytocin, which relaxes you. And then when you have these contractions, you won't be able to breathe for a little bit. And that's okay. Know that you're not going to be able to breathe for a little bit. But then that will peak and you will be able to breathe right in that space. Breathe in the space. It's like a wave, right? Your body will contract. You won't be able to breathe. Let it do what it needs to do. And then it will expand. And you can breathe. And just knowing that, I could flow with that process. And I think it's important for us to know that now too, that things are going to happen that are going to make you contract in fear. You're going to see things out in the world that make you contract in fear. Just observe it. What is the old story? Validate it. That story was there for a reason. It taught you something that may no longer be true. What do you need to care for yourself? This is my AVC model. Acknowledge, validate, care for. Do that. Care for yourself. Let it relax. Breathe. Let that go. Something new will come in you to replace it. That's the process, okay? I also think it's funny that oxytocin is the love hormone, relaxing and expanding you. But there is a need to contract and go in. Figure out what that lesson is and what that story is. Validate and love that part of you that experienced that. And then let it go. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. So if you've been with me on this long journey, I appreciate you staying with me, and I hope you got what you needed from it. Love you.